In our last sessions, we have been commenting very briefly on some of the beliefs and practices of some religions. We have referred to Buddhism briefly, a little bit about Hinduism, African traditional religion, Islam, atheistic philosophy. We have touched on them very briefly. As the course goes on, we will look at each of these religious systems more deeply. But for right now, before we begin to explore the religions more deeply, I want to comment on a basic question which we experience in a world of many religions, and that is, how can we know the truth? How can we know the truth? And how do we deal with the reality that religions contradict each other as they seek to answer these three ultimate questions, or the significant questions that we've talked about so far? How do we deal with that? And I'd like to point out that there are different approaches to that question. The first one on the board I refer to as God of the Gaps. Some years ago, I took a course in a university in the United States, University of Pennsylvania, and my professor was from the United Kingdom. He was a philosopher. It was a course on modern Western philosophical foundations for education, a big name for a big course. And when he would teach, he would oftentimes get his chair. He's had a tall chair like this, or a tall podium, and he would get on it, and he would lean over like this when he would teach. I was afraid sometimes he might fall down, and this is how he would teach. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to now listen to my description of the philosophies that make the foundation for Western culture. That's the way he taught. And he used to say that science is the truth. So he put a big circle on the board. He would put a big circle on the board like this, and then he would put a smaller circle on the board like this, and he would say, this smaller circle is science. Science. Science is what we know. How do we know? Through investigation. So science answers our questions. But he said, there is a realm which is the question mark. We don't know the answer to many things. And that is where religion stays. So he would prop his chair up like this, and he would say, ladies and gentlemen, the question mark is the area where religion resides. And what we know is the area of scientific power. But that which we don't know is the religious arena. That's what he would say, leaning over in his chair like this with his eyebrows up like that. Very, very impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, the question mark is the area for religion. And then he would say, this is what he would say then, the work of science is to expand the area that we do not know until it gets larger and larger, to expand the area that we know. That's the work of science, to keep expanding the area that we know. And then he would conclude his lecture with his chair tilted up. And eventually, my dear friends, there will be no room for religion whatsoever, for we shall know all that we need to know. The question mark will disappear. So what's he saying? He is saying religion is the question mark. That which we cannot answer, we give that to religion. But that which we do find answers to is the area of science. And so the whole world is in a struggle between science, which takes away the question mark eventually, and the area of religion, which is the question mark. And so religion belongs only to the area of the question mark. Now, his philosophy, which he was teaching us in that class, is very typical in our global Western schools, including in Russia as well, I'm sure. That religion is the question mark. It is the area that we don't know. But science is the area that we know. And so our goal is to increase the area of science at the expense of religion, which will become less and less significant. Now, what do you think about that? How would you respond to that question? And it would be fun if we had another kind of arena here for us to get into small circles and talk about that, how we respond to that question. But maybe tonight after class you can talk about that and share with me tomorrow before the class begins what your thoughts are about that. But I will share with you what I said. This was one of the final examination questions. That question, one of the final examination questions. And this is what I said. I said, if the area of the question mark has to do with superstition, you might have a point. That the more we understand science, the less space there is for superstition. But if we are talking about the God of the Bible, then your philosophy does not apply. For God of the Bible is the creator of what we know and what we do not know. In fact, in the Bible, we are commanded to explore how creation is put together, to understand it, that to become involved in the scientific enterprise and to explore how the DNA molecule, for example, is constructed. This amazingly complex system which passes on our genes from one generation to another. Explore it, understand the mind of God. Press on to understand. All of that arena belongs to God. And so we give God praise for what we know and for what we do not know. God is not just God of the question mark or God of the gaps. God is God of everything, you see. So just because I understand something about how my Honda automobile is put together, which was made by the Japanese, and the best car I've ever had, and I enjoy it very, very much. And the more I understand about that car, the more I'm impressed by the Japanese automakers who made such a good car, you know. What if I were to say to you, and by the way, I drive a Honda car, and it's an excellent car, and really, it's obvious that there is no creator who put it together, no engineer that put it together. It just sort of happened, you know. That the more I understand this car, the less I need to believe that Japanese put it together at all. It'd be stupid, wouldn't it? Quite stupid. And so to say, well, now since we understand how the DNA molecule is put together in all its complexity, we can say, well, okay, well, so there goes God. We don't need to refer to him anymore. No, God put together what we understand and what we do not understand. And he is Lord of all. And so we honor him as Lord of the gaps and Lord of what we know. God of the question mark and God that we have come to understand, like how malaria medicine kills malaria these days, and therefore lives are lengthened out. It's God who put all of those systems in place, which we seek to understand more and more. So that's one approach. That's one approach to the question of many religions and the role of religion in society.
We strive to serve the contemporary Christian community with a variety of Christian educational and evangelistic resources. To see TVS Seminary's database, please visit tvsseminary.com.